I never thought that people could shut down until I saw it. I never thought it was real, right? It's got to be fiction that your brain would shut off. But I saw grown men, combat-hardened men, and I started with women as well, that they just stopped. They stopped moving. They just sat there and went comatose, just standing. And some of the individuals I knew personally, but I was able to match their tattoos with their torsos, with their other parts of their body. We were able to package them up properly and send them home to their families.
Thank you for coming in. Can you tell us who you are and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Robert Clayton Hinchman. I'm originally was born in a town called San Benito, Texas, on the very southern tip of Texas near Matamoros. I was accepted and attended the United States Military Academy at West Point. I started the summer of 2001. On a Tuesday morning, I was woken up by my friend who snuck into my room, and I was trying to sleep at my desk, which is not allowed in the morning. And I thought I was in trouble, and I saw the second airplane crash into the second tower. And I immediately knew our country was going to war, which is why I wanted to go to West Point, and I wanted to serve in the United States Army.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you ended up in combat?
My second summer, you get to do a lot of infantry training and things like that. It's called Camp Buckner. I got to ride in a tank, drive a tank, shoot artillery, the big guns and things like that. But there's something we had, it was called Infantry Week. It was almost 2 weeks, but I loved being dirty. I loved being in the mud. I liked getting rained on. I liked sleeping in the cold. And when I got back from Infantry Week training, I called my dad and said, I'm going to be an airborne ranger. And I never thought about quitting ever again. I thought about fighting for my country. And then I was deployed to Iraq in August of 2007. And that's how I ended up in Iraq.
How did your deployment go?
We had a very interesting mission, a very intense mission. We went after known Al-Qaeda operatives at that time. There was a lot of factional warfare as well, with different groups that were fighting for control. And unfortunately, I had a very intense combat experience through that. And unfortunately, May 10th of 2008, I stepped on a pressure wire IED, which was connected to a 122 millimeter mortar round. A 122 millimeter mortar has a 5 to 7 meter kill radius, and I'm the one that stepped on the device. 10 to 15 of my soldiers had already actually walked over this device. We had had a hard infill at 01 in the morning. I had some soldiers that were wounded, or not wounded, but hurt on the infill. And so we were a little bit discombobulated. But 10 or 15 of my soldiers walked over the IED, and I just happened to step on it the right way. And it took my right leg above the knee. So I had about 10 other soldiers that were wounded in that attack. But nobody died that morning, that night. I had a team leader that was in front of me and another soldier that, because of their training, turned around and jumped into the crater-ish, and put a tourniquet on what was left of my right leg. And I almost lost my left leg. And they tourniqueted my other leg as I, screamed out for help, cried for a medic. And my guys jumped into a hole and saved my life. I was awake the entire time. I didn't pass out. It was quite interesting, to say the least. And my guys tried to keep me awake. They did keep me awake. I took 2 or 3 shots of morphine to try to ease the pain. It didn't help. And I waited approximately 45 minutes to an hour from where we had taken off in our Chinook, for a Black Hawk medevac to come get me. And then I remember all of it, but what I remember is I was in so much pain that I knew I was hurt bad. I couldn't move. I was in shock. And my guys put me on a poncho, and I knew my leg was gone. They kept lying to me. They told me I was good. They're good men. They told me I was good. And when they picked me up to throw me on the Black Hawk, my left leg flopped over the side of the poncho and my right leg didn't. And as soon as that happened, I just, I won't use the language here, but I was just like, oh, right? And I knew my leg was gone at that point. I found out later on that my leg was actually tucked right beside me the whole time. I didn't want the Army to call my wife or my family. I wanted to call my family. So I sweet talked, I got the cell phone, and I called my wife, and I just said, hey, I'm okay, but I want you to know that I was wounded, I lost my leg, and that was how I notified my wife, Leslie, that I had been wounded about, 8 hours earlier. And that, it was a fun combat experience. I had great soldiers, I had great NCOs. My men took it very hard. They were great. They were incredible soldiers, incredible warfighters. They carried on the fight for 4 more days. Incredible people after they saved my life. But they took it incredibly hard, which is a testament of how good they were at taking care of people. It was intense, it was great, it was fun. It just ended a little bit abruptly, and my military career was cut short sooner than I wish it had been.
I want to go back a little bit. It sounds like the split-second thinking of your team is really the big impact there. Do you ever think back on your training and, I guess, appreciation around how your team knew to react that quickly in a situation like that?
The best compliment I've ever gotten probably in my military career was that I saved my own life, and I didn't know what that meant. And he said, well, when you had us, when other people were resting, we were training. You had us carry more tourniquets than was required. You got everybody scissors at 02 in the morning instead of, hanging out, smoking and joking. You had us climbing walls in full gear, practicing 9-line medevacs, practicing things. There's 2 types of people that think taking care of people. Is coddling people taking care of them, or training them to standard, right? At Ignite now, our company that I'm chairman and CEO of, we have an Ignite standard. We uphold a certain standard, right, of solving really difficult problems, impossible problems. And it's the same mentality of staying in the fight in the Army of, how do you take care of people? Do you coddle them, or do you train them to a certain standard and hold them to a certain standard of discipline, so that way when things go very bad, they know how to react, they know how to take care of each other, they know how to support the team. You second guess yourself a lot as a leader internally. You don't say it out loud, but somebody telling me, hey, you trained us to a standard, I always took that as probably the best military leadership compliment I ever got, because it was kind of an affirmation, a confirmation, like, hey, you made a lot of mistakes as a person, and I did, and I have, and I will. But I was trying to uphold a certain standard for the United States, for the American warfighter, that I thought was right, and I followed my training, I trusted my training, and I trusted my men to implement that certain standard of a lifestyle and a warfighter mentality that we had.
Thank you for sharing all that. What was your life like once you returned home?
Life was different when you come back from losing a limb. And being severely wounded. Like I said, I almost lost my left leg. I have numerous other shrapnel injuries and things, and I was deaf. I still wear hearing aids, right? But there's a transition. I went through, I think, like I said, roughly 35 surgeries because my wound got infected, and so I carve a little, rest for a day, carve a little, rest for a day. That was a difficult time, obviously, but I was on a lot of good painkillers, so you you're kind of going through it. I always tried to maintain a jovial spirit through the whole process. I wasn't dead, right? So I fought very hard to learn how to walk again very quickly. I wanted to get back to life very quickly. I do not sit still. I think fast, I talk fast, I try to work fast. I don't like stagnation. I don't like being content. So being disabled was very hard to come to grips with. I was very athletic and took a lot of pride in my physical abilities. And so I had been blown to smithereens. My body didn't heal right. And the mental process is a struggle. You go through all of the phases of depression and all the things that you go through. I went through all of them for several years. I went through that. It took time. Being an amputee is painful. My leg burns today the same way it did 16 years ago. It'll never go away, right? And I talk to amputees that have to deal with the same problem, and I'm like, you have to understand your life will be painful. You're using a prosthetic that is not a part of your body. No matter how much they try to mold it and get it to fit and change your tire and do all these things, you will be in pain. You have to accept that mentally. I was able to accept it mentally by working.
So starting your own firm, can you tell us a little bit about the challenges you had there?
Yeah, I founded my firm originally because I saw waste from some of the contractors that were on the ground. The IED threat was intimate to me, obviously, right? And I had friends that were warfighters. I still have friends that are warfighters. We all have friends that are warfighters. It was a passion for me to solve problems in a better way. And I'll be honest with you, I was just arrogant enough to think I could do it better. I saw a lot of people that I didn't think they understood what it took to stay in the fight. I saw a lot of individuals that took for granted the seriousness of the adversaries that we have, and I don't think they took that fight seriously. In 2012, I ended up starting my own small firm called USI, and I had been to Huntsville, Alabama one time, and I'd been recruited by a firm, but I had a wife and a 6-month-old daughter, and I bought a house online and moved to Huntsville. My wife's from Georgia. She was not happy about moving to Alabama, but we worked hard and we got lucky, and those two things are interconnected. Luck seems to find the people that work hard and power through with effort. And so after 4 years, we had around 50 employees, and I actually sold my small firm to Ignite. I had 2 daughters at the time. It was just my wife and I thought this is just continues to grow. So I came on board at Ignite to be the COO in 2016. And then 4 years ago, May of 2020, right at the beginning of COVID, I became the chairman and CEO of Ignite, and it's just been a blast ever since.
It seems like you're really happy with where you are now.
Yeah, when you get wounded and you get thrown a curveball in life, I've been lucky to have a lot of great friends and mentors. Only a fool thinks they get to where they are in life by themselves. I've accomplished nothing by myself. My family wears my Purple Heart. They've been a part of the process the whole time. My friends do as well. I know that. But this is the most fun I've ever had in my life, and I completely found my purpose after I thought it was taken from me. Losing my leg was probably the best thing that ever happened to me in my professional and personal life. I would have kept volunteering for other more serious missions. I would have been gone from family a lot. I travel a lot for work, but that's okay. I still get to tuck my daughters in and, kiss them goodnight most nights. But, being the chairman and CEO of Ignite gives me a purpose that I didn't know existed in life. And I draw all of the energy, the camaraderie from the Igniters that are on the ground that serve with me every single day. All I ever wanted to do was stay in the fight. And at Ignite, we get to do that every single day while solving impossible problems. I'm Clayton Hinchman. Along with my teammates at Ignite, we are still in the fight.